This world may have just seen the smartest man of all retire yesterday. Most of you probably saw the news. On the very last day of last year, December 31st, 2025, Warren Buffett, known as the Oracle of Omaha, announced his retirement. He stepped down as CEO of Berkshire Hathaway, with his longtime deputy, Greg Abel, taking over. In fact, this wasn't a surprise at all. Back in November, Buffett had already publicly said that he would retire by the end of the year. After that, he even started polishing his image, writing for sentences that sounded like life aphorisms. Things like, "The second half of life can be even more exciting. Don't blame yourself for past mistakes, look forward. It's never too late to make progress." And, "Find the right role models and follow them. If you want to become a certain kind of person, learn from those who already are." As for these so-called words of wisdom, I won't comment on them. There are far too many people in this world who love posturing, and far too many who can write this kind of feel-good nonsense. There's really no need. At this point, people familiar with our channel might say, "Wait a minute. Didn't you previously say Buffett was a con artist? Why are you changing your tune now, calling him possibly the smartest man in the world?" Actually, these two views are not contradictory at all. So let's take a closer look at Warren Buffett and see who he really is. Let's start with his family background. Many articles about Buffett love to portray him as someone who had it hard, someone born poor, who clawed his way up through sheer effort. Is that true? No doubt it's false. Just like how, for a long time, we were told Bill Gates was self-made, coding in a garage pitching investors, only to later realize it was all mythology. All false. His father was one of America's top lawyers. His mother was a bank president, also the chair of the University of Washington's board, and had very strong ties with IBM. When Bill Gates started Microsoft, his mother didn't just help raise money, she helped him land business. Microsoft's partnership with him came directly through his mother's connections. Now, what about Buffett? The same story. Let's start in 1951. That year, after earning his master's degree, Buffett joined his father's stock brokerage firm and worked there as a broker for 3 years. Two things are worth noting here. First, in that era, even for Americans, finishing high school wasn't easy, let alone completing college, and then going on to earn a master's degree. Second, his father's stock brokerage firm. Is that self-made? Is that humble origins? Some might argue, so what if his father was wealthy and owned a brokerage firm? That doesn't affect Buffett's status as a stock god, right? Wrong. His father didn't just have money, he had power. In 1942, Buffett's father, Howard Buffett, was elected to the US Congress. He was re-elected repeatedly and served for 10 years straight. He retired in 1952. During that time, he was simultaneously a congressman and the owner of a stock brokerage firm. Does this remind you of Nancy Pelosi, of the so-called Capitol Hill stock gods we've heard about in recent years? So what does it mean to have a father like that? It means inheriting access to the highest levels of power. It means a complex, deeply rooted, invisible legacy. That's why you can't explain Buffett becoming a stock god by talking only about Buffett himself, while ignoring the fact that his father spent 10 years in Congress. One small side note, Buffett likely admired his father greatly, which is why his eldest son is also named Howard Buffett. In American culture, that's a sign of deep respect. With the background covered, let's talk about how Buffett himself actually became a stock god. First, under his father's protection, he worked for 3 years and made a substantial amount of money. Then, he went to work for one of his father's old friends, also his graduate school mentor, the famous economist Benjamin Graham. He continued investing there for another 2 years. Right out of the gate, the people behind him were already at the very top of American society. Even if Buffett was technically an employee, how low could his income possibly be? Of course it wasn't low. By 1956, Buffett already had 14 万 in assets. What did that mean back then? At the time, a two-income American household earned only $3,210 a year. A car cost $1,510. A house cost $8,450. 5 years out of graduate school, he had already earned over 40 years worth of income. For an average family, is that self-made? Is that ordinary? Is that something someone from humble origins could realistically achieve? With elite connections from his father and mentor, did Buffett immediately soar? No, that not only did he not soar, for the next several decades, he struggled that way. In 1962, he bought into a company whose name today is legendary in the investment world, Berkshire Hathaway. But don't be impressed just yet. Let's talk about what Berkshire Hathaway actually was in 1962. Here's the background. In 1790, a man named Samuel Slater founded a textile mill in Rhode Island. Over time, through multiple ownership changes, it became known as Berkshire. In 1888, another man, Horatio Hathaway, founded a separate textile company called Hathaway. That company didn't change hands much, so it kept its original name. In 1955, due to poor performance, the two companies merged, forming Berkshire Hathaway. But performance didn't improve. The company suffered chronic losses and was on the brink of bankruptcy. Then a blind man showed up, buying large amounts of stock at $7.50 per share. That blind man was Buffett. Later, he explained it like this. He knew the company would go bankrupt, but after bankruptcy, capital would be released. Shares would be bought back, the stock price would rise, and he could sell for a big profit. But he only said that after becoming a stock god. The reality was different. Over the next few years, the company's operations kept deteriorating. Yet Buffett refused to give up. He kept raising money and buying more shares. By May 1965, he had bought so much stock that he ended up controlling Berkshire Hathaway. Taking control of a company on the verge of bankruptcy at great expense was obviously not a good decision. But what did Buffett do? He refused to quit. He scraped together funds everywhere and kept the failing textile business alive at a loss for 10 whole years. 10 years later, for reasons no one fully understands, he decided that losing money on one textile company wasn't enough. In 1975, he bought another one, Warren Mills. Also on the brink of bankruptcy, thought the result was even worse. Both companies were losing money at the same time. No matter how strong his foundation was, it couldn't withstand this. A few years later, Warren Mills was shut down, and a large sum of money simply vanished. And that still wasn't the end. In his early years, Buffett truly loved the textile industry. Later, he invested in another company, Blue Chip Stamps, which focused on textile printing. The outcome was predictable: more losses, eventual bankruptcy. How much did these failures haunt him? Even by 2010, long after becoming a stock god, he would still say in interviews, like Xianglan Sao repeating herself, "I was so foolish, truly foolish." He said that buying Berkshire Hathaway and stubbornly sticking with textiles was the stupidest decision of his life, and he stuck with it for 20 years. So what does this tell us? Without a father who spent 10 years in Congress, without vast political connections left behind. If an ordinary American had made these mistakes, they would have been ruined 10 times over. But then, Buffett's luck finally turned. In the 1980s, American society underwent a fundamental transformation, quietly but profoundly. It completely reshaped America's social structure and economic system. What happened? Ronald Reagan came to power. After taking office, he said, America would pursue free trade, privatization, and reduced government intervention. Put nicely, it was globalization. Put bluntly, America's elite decided to use capital to harvest the world. From then on, financial capital became the core of the system, and national policy served its interests. Starting in the 1980s, American manufacturing moved overseas. Capital flooded abroad, and the US began deindustrializing. What were American companies doing? Instead of reinvesting profits into production or technology, they bought back their own shares. Higher stock price became proof of success. But finance is often inseparable from insider information. The lowest level of insider trading is knowing company performance in advance. Higher levels are far harder to define. For example, in 1991, the United States decided to go to war with Iraq. Whoever knew first made a fortune. Was that insider trading? Hard to say. Or considered Capitol Hill stock gods approving budgets with one hand while buying stocks with the other. When the bill passed, stocks rose and profits were secured. Looking back at Buffett's life, one thing becomes clear. After 20 years stuck in failing textiles, he suddenly woke up in the 1980s. He started investing properly and winning. Step by step, he went from failure to stock god. How did it happen? In 3 stages. First, he moved with globalization. As government pushed industries overseas, he positioned himself early. When Dairy Queen entered China in 1992, he bought shares around that time. By 2012, Dairy Queen had 500 stores in China. Brown Shoe followed a similar path. Is that insider trading? Yes and no. But only those who see through the fog of history can make such choices. Second, as global markets matured, consumer demand exploded. So he boldly invested in Coca-Cola and Gillette. For ordinary people, it looked risky. For him, the information came automatically. Third, after 2010, the situation changed. We rose. From 2011 to 2018, he invested in DC Solar. When China's solar industry surged, the company collapsed, resorting to a Ponzi scheme, costing him over $300 million. In Q1 2020, Berkshire lost $49.746 billion. In the first half of 2022, it lost another $45 billion. Even more shocking, he reduced his stake in BYD. Then something even stranger happened. He stopped investing and started hoarding cash. In November this year, Berkshire reported $381.67 billion in cash, and no stock buybacks for 9 months. What does that mean? It means Buffett knows, deep down, the era that made him a stock god is over. So he chose to retire, making money through background, information, and tremendous intelligence. But stepping away for the tide turns his true intelligence. That is Buffett's real brilliance. Old Buffett, rest well. Your era has come to an end. And the era of American financial capital dominating the world is also nearing its end.